Good evening. Thanks for joining us. So good evening and welcome to the Healthcare is a Racial Justice Issue four-part series organized by Michael Bayer of Coalition of Chicago Catholic Churches and me, Jessica Simpson, President and founder of White Coats for Black Lives chapter at Loyola University, Chicago Stritch School of Medicine. I'm incredibly thankful for this opportunity to engage in meaningful conversation with our panelists and with all of you. Tonight is the last session of the series. Our focus happened, but I think there was a crash, so I'll just say that again. Dr. Malik Henfield is a full professor and dean of the School of Education at Loyola University, Chicago. He received a BA in biology from Francis Marion University, a master's in education, and an educational specialist degree in school counseling from the University of South Carolina, and a PhD in counselor education from The Ohio University. Dr. Henfield is leading the anti-racism initiative at Loyola University, Chicago. Dr. Therese Lysaught is a full professor and the director of graduate program in healthcare mission leadership at the Bioethics and Healthcare Leadership at Loyola University, Chicago. She received an MA in theology from the University of Notre Dame and a PhD in religion and theology ethics from Duke University. And finally, Dr. Cory Mitchell is the director of mission integration at Mercy Healthcare Muskegon. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but it's part of Trinity Health. He received a master's degree in healthcare mission leadership and a doctorate in bioethics and health policy, both degrees from Loyola University, Chicago. He is currently an MBA student at Syracuse University. Okay, so in order to address an issue, one has to fully understand the crux of it. And our previous three sessions did just that. At this point, we understand how policies and the lack thereof continue to perpetuate systemic racism in the United States, resulting in long-term health implications. Additionally, policies and procedures of universities, institutions, organizations, and hospitals do not promote inclusion, diversity, and equity. So what do we do with this information? COVID has exposed these injustices and reinvigorated the Black Lives Matter movement. White Coats for Black Lives is not associated with the Black Lives Matter movement specifically, but we do believe that it is imperative to publicly and clearly state that the lives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color matter. These groups of people commonly referred to as BIPOC or BIPOC, which is a shorthand that I'll probably say a couple of times throughout this discussion. So if we think about Holocaust survivors and people of Japanese descent who were incarcerated in internment camps during the World War II, those people have received reparations from German and US governments, respectively. As Ta-Nehisi Coates writes, we have seen 250 years of slavery, 90 years of Jim Crow, 60 years of separate but equal, 35 years of racist housing policy. Until we reckon with our compounding moral debt, America will never be whole. I'd like to start out our discussion with reconciliation as it relates to Black, Indigenous people of color. So the first question is directed to Dr. Malik Henfield. In June 2020, during an urgent debate convened at the request of African countries seeking the United Nations inquiry into racism and police brutality against people of African descent in the United States following the death of George Floyd, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said, quote, "Patience has run out. Black lives matter. Indigenous lives matter. The lives of people of color matter. All human beings are born equal in dignity and rights. That is what this council, like my office, stands for, and to confront the legacy of slavery and slave trade and colonialism, which lies behind racial violence, systemic racism, and discriminatory policing. We also need to make amends for centuries of violence and discrimination, including through formal apology, truth-telling processes, and reparations in various forms. So Dr. Henfield, how might you suggest we best make amends for centuries of violence and discrimination? Do you think that truth-telling about inequities is imperative?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you for the invite and looking forward to the conversation. One minor correction with regard to the anti-racism initiatives. I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Badia Had, our Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs, who's over joint hires and diversifying the faculty is one of her major areas. We also have Associate Provost Robin Malik, who's over academic affairs for the university and in charge of the internal anti-racism initiative. And I'm specifically responsible for building an anti-racist institute that will potentially, maybe down the road, fingers crossed, even evolve into a school. So I just want to give credit where it's due. Do we owe reparations? And most generally speaking, I'm thinking about my personal experience, 10 years at the University of Iowa, major research one institution, and moving to the University of San Francisco, which was my first taste of Jesuit education, Jesuit Catholic education, and how good it felt to have an experience where the people, everyone with whom I worked, were rowing the boat in the same direction, all on the same page in with regard to social justice. But the more that I've been in these environments, obviously now at Loyola University, I'm thinking about how are we defining justice? What does justice even mean? And as we're here and are celebrating our 150th anniversary of the university, when you go back and thinking about when this university came to be and how life may have been during that period in time, it goes without saying that there are many of us, when I say us, I'm talking about BIPOC in particular, who were not part of that imagining of what the university could be, I imagine, but the question still remains exactly what it is that took place during that period in time. So to directly answer your question, we should be questioning all of these things about our origins, similar to what happened and what's currently happening in Georgetown. We're in the same Jesuit Catholic family, right? So why not follow their lead? And if now in our 150th anniversary year, then when? My hope is that as part of the Racial Justice Institute, that's one of the first things that we'll take on, because it's only right if we're really serious about racial justice and anti-racism. Let's look about how we came to be here as a university. And if it's not on the backs of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, then I don't know what it is.
Thank you, Dr. Henfield. And for those that are not aware, can you briefly just say the connection between Georgetown Jesuits and the slave trade?
Right, so I'm not an expert in this area. That would certainly be our provost who just came to us from Georgetown, right? So what better person than him to lead us in this direction? But from what I gathered, there was a lot of demands from the students and faculty of color, particularly Black faculty and students on the campus, about the origins of Georgetown University and what they owed to the current and future generations of Black students on that campus. And there was just a tumultuous time and lots of pushback and really difficult questions to me and ask, and give credit where it's due again. Georgetown came around and actually broached the topic. And I'm not quite sure exactly where they landed, but I do remember seeing a big spread in the New York Times. And I thought it was quite impressive. And that was long before I even landed here at Loyola. So again, if not now on our 150th anniversary, with a provost coming to us from Georgetown, who experienced it during that time, then when?
That's absolutely right. And actually, Georgetown is also leading the way too with addressing the Black Lives Matter movement that's currently going on right now. And the university has explicitly stated, both publicly and to their students, that they support Black lives and that Black Lives Matter. My second question, and it's related to the first one, is directed towards Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell, who's responsible for making amends? Why is a formal apology needed by institutions, corporations, and leaders of nations, such as the President of the United States or the President of an institution?
Well, first, I'd like to also thank the team for putting this together. This is a wonderful opportunity to have a very important discussion. So I think who's responsible for making amends? You know, convention says the wrongdoer, right? So who's ever in the wrong? But I think it goes deeper than that, because the second part of your question asked about why is it important for that apology, and I want to say that the apology starts the process of reconciliation. It is not an end-all be-all. So we want to have the apology so that we can begin a dialogue. And the dialogue is part of what Pope Francis talks about, having a culture of encounter. And when we cross bridges, when we build bridges, we can have this culture of encounter and in its whole making. Dr. Henfield talked about justice and how we define it. For Catholics, justice is really about right relationships, right? And so we don't get there with a one and done. Reconciliation has to be transformational rather than transactional. And I'll get back into that later. So.
Thank you. Just a quick clarification. So when you say the wrongdoers, are we, because a lot of people say, well, my ancestors aren't responsible for slavery. What do we say to those people?
Well, okay. So I think looking at how America came about, one way to look at it is that scholars have done voluminous research on how America came about, its economic prowess, right? And that was slavery. Slavery built capitalism.
Right.
And this vestige that we still have going on now is still indebted to that original founding, right? That economic engine that was, and built on the backs of Black and brown people, and Asian people as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I agree. I just always hear that rebuttal, that comment of, my ancestors had nothing to do with it. But if you are prospering, basically, and you are being able to live in a capitalist society, then yes, it falls on our leaders. It falls on everyone who is working here and living here in the United States. So my next question is Dr. Lysaught. Dr. Therese Lysaught, is it possible to have racial justice without reconciliation and reparations? Is that even possible?
That's the easiest question we're going to have. No. So
good,
I'm done. Move on to the next question. No. Yeah, with my colleagues, it's so great to be here tonight with as part of this conversation. I've watched every single episode, in the series here, and it's just really, it's been great. I think we're going to come back to the components of this as we go through the night. But Dr. Henfield has also said, right, what is the beginning of this process of justice? It's truth, right? If you look across the world at places that have started to do this already, right, who are ahead of us, in South Africa, in Rwanda, in Latin America, whenever they turn to face long-standing, egregious institutional injustices, the first thing they do is truth, right? So truth and reconciliation have to go together. And those are the bedrock of a move toward justice, which is a long-term process, especially for injustices that have been going on for 250, 400, 600 years. Like, what's our time frame here? It's a really long time, right?
Yeah, so if I'm hearing you correctly, I mean, obviously it's a loaded question, but we definitely need to focus on the truth and truth telling. And we cannot have reconciliation without having truthful conversations And that definitely, ties into what the UN High Commissioner was saying about truth-telling processes and reparations in various forms. So now we're going to shift slightly because there is a lot to talk about, and we can honestly flesh out all of these questions in an hour, but the next question, unless anyone wants to add anything to what Dr. Lysaught said, I can, because I noticed Dr. Henfield unmuted himself. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm just getting ready for the next question.
Okay, all right. So we're shifting the discussion a little bit to reparations. And again, according to the United Nations, there is specific criteria for full reparations to be met. The cessation of injury and guarantee of non-repetition, compensation from the enduring state, so those who are being the oppressors, institution or individual for the damages, giving those reparations to those people, reinstitution and reparation, restoring identity, culture, livelihood, and humanity, and satisfaction, including apologies and rehabilitation, including legal, medical, psychological, and all other care and services. Do you all agree with the United Nations in this, very detailed, what I would consider a detailed definition of reparations? When I was looking into what exactly is reparations, this was the source that most resonated with me due to my public health background. But do you all agree with this definition, and what exactly is reparations to you? And anyone can answer going first.
Dr. Henfield, did you want to go first?
No, let me just keep still so I'm going down.
All right. So I'll take a stab at this. So for me, what the UN talks about, I think, is a great start. But I do think we've got to look at structure, because racism, oppression is systematic and structural. And so any reparations has to be systematic and structural. And so when we look at how reparations are handled, oftentimes we look at it from a Western mindset, which is very individualistic. But Pope Francis talks about our interdependence. And so if we are truly interdependent, right, we've got to look at how communities function, ecosystems function. So it's not enough to talk about payments to an individual. It's got to be holistic and whole making. So I'll shut up with that.
I totally agree with that. And I'd also, it's not shamelessly plugging myself, but certainly a colleague, mentor of mine. Can we get a good shot of that? William Sandy Darity and his wife, Kirsten Mullen, wrote From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. He's a fellow Blue Devil, Dr. Lysaught, who runs a center that I've been working closely with for some time down there, the Center for Social Equity, and has committed his life to this very topic in design. He's an economist by background, and in addition to the center, is also affiliated with the area of public policy down there at Duke, and has committed his life to thinking about how can we actually do this. And I certainly agree with the need to focus on the ecosystems and so on and so forth. Absolutely. But I think one thing that can happen right now and ought to happen right now is to cut that check. When we're thinking about wealth disparities and the fact that Black folks have 10 cents worth of wealth compared to every dollar amongst white folks, we got here by government wrongdoings, and it's going to take government right doings to get us out of this. And I also firmly believe in everything that you're saying, Cory, or Dr. Mitchell, forgive me. But I also understand that in order for there to be this larger ecosystemic project, so to speak, it's going to take a lot of changing hearts and minds. And I'm not sure that folks who are alive right now and into the future for the foreseeable future have time to wait on that, particularly given where we are right now. In my mind, it's much easier because they're to focus on policy, governmental policy, because there are things out there and plans out there like those that are outlined in Dr. Darity and Dr. Mullen's book that to help us understand exactly how to do it. It's just a matter of the will to do it. And we've seen this will, this goodwill be extended to other populations. We have a track record of doing this, but for some strange reason, when it comes to Black folks, it's complicated. We wonder the how and the whens and the wheres and the so on and so forth, that is not as complicated for other populations. If we want to talk seriously about a conversation, let's have a conversation at our Catholic universities. And I know I'm going on and on and on, but one more point about the data related to the fact that when you look at white Catholics and their political leanings, let's just say they're not bending towards the goodwill that would come along with reparations in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I would love for us to have a conversation about that. Let's start there, but I'll stop there for now.
Okay, I just want to have a conversation with you, Dr. Henfield, because I think you bring up some great points. So I want to get into it with you. I think we have demonstrated with other populations. In fact, I was thinking about the Marshall Plan. So rather than looking at reparations as the recent stimulus checks many people got, think of it as reparations as the Marshall Plan, which in 1948 paid out about $12 billion to Western European countries to rebuild the economies, the war-torn areas, all that, right? And in today's dollars, that would be just about $130 billion. Our Catholic healthcare systems pay out about $7 billion alone, just Catholic institutions, in community benefit dollars. And so when we start looking at systematic approaches to dealing with reparations, I think we can do both. So Dr. Lysaught used to always teach me both and. So you're right. So getting out those stimulus checks, but also really looking at and digging in deep into community investment, I think it was the European Recovery Act that was the full name, the actual name of the Marshall Plan. And so if we had an Urban Recovery Act, since 60 to 70% of African Americans live in communities of concentrated poverty, getting at those numbers, and those really move the needle on health disparity. So again, okay, so somebody else talk.
Can I just interject and say one thing, because I think it's really important to mention what both of our speakers just said. In 1988, President Reagan actually signed the Civil Liberties Act to compensate more than 100,000 people of Japanese descent who were incarcerated in internment camps during World War II, right? And so they were compensated in over $20,000 each, okay, to these surviving victims. And again, we have to ask ourselves, why is it that Japanese Americans are given reparations, but Black African Americans are not? And if we look at our, those who were unfortunately affected by the Holocaust, even just recently and this month in October of 2020, Holocaust survivors who were dealing with the burden of the coronavirus pandemic are expected to receive 1,200 euros, or the equivalent of $1,400 over the next 2 years, just to deal with the medical issues that are associated with coronavirus, because the German government said that they were denied a nutritious diet during the Holocaust. And so again, we have to ask, and it's our leaders who are making these decisions. And I just have to say point blank, I think it's important for us to think about who we're electing. I'm just trying to draw the dots to everything that both of the gentlemen have just said. It's important to think about, if we want to have reconciliation and reparations, we have to think about who's leading our country, because the German government is doing that, and President Reagan did it in 1988. So. Dr. Lysaught, I think you were going to say something, and I'm so sorry. I just wanted to make sure I give that historical fact, because again, a lot of people think that, you know, that what we're talking about
this is a great, I
crazy.
was going to add something, but then I'm like, oh, we should go to the next question, but oh, let me just jump in, because first I was going to say, well, you know, it's a both and, but see, then I have taught Cory well, so he took that and ran, and that was great. But to just kind of like bring home the point, right? So a lot of times when people think reparations, if they get to be like deer in headlights, because we think of it as this very transactional, money-based thing, right? Oh, we gave each Japanese family $20,000, right? And now we're going to have to do this, and you do the math, and it just becomes overwhelming, and then we, say we don't want to do that. So on the one hand, money is important and money works, right? And there's, a lot of studies where there was just a recent study in Canada where, like, I don't know why somebody had to do a study on this, but they gave $1,000 each to each homeless person. They did a, controlled bunch of homeless people did not get $1,000. Bunch of homeless people got $1,000, and lo and behold, the group that got the money moved out of homelessness. Great numbers in terms of health, job placement, whatnot. Money works, basic universal income works. Money's a good thing. But it's just one piece of the story. And, UN definitions are always enormously huge and comprehensive and too big for anybody to ever do. You could look at their definition on health, but, same sort of thing. But I mean, your analogy to the Marshall Plan, Cory, is just amazing, right? Because that's exactly the kind of work that needs to be done in terms of reparation, right? This thick ecology of repair that people don't usually think about when they think about the term reparations. And even, points to Georgetown for at least moving the conversation forward. But, how do you do that work of repair, right? What is being repaired, right? So we have 272 slaves. Okay, they were sold. That was bad. Georgetown took the money. Okay, this is not good retrospectively. But was the harm that they sold them? Was the harm that they were slaves, right? So what are we repairing? Which harm? And then how do you put a figure on that? A lot of times we say, oh, once we've paid the dollars, we're done, right? We give them $1,400 for having been a Holocaust victim, or $20,000. That doesn't repair the work, the harm that's been done to them, right? So how do we have this really comprehensive both and strategy to repair the harm?
Okay, can I jump in here again? I'm sorry.
Yes, please do.
I think this is spot on, right? And Pope Francis talks about this in Fratelli Tutti, his latest encyclical. And let me just read a quote. He says, "Reparation and reconciliation will give us new life and set us all free from fear." This is important because he now, just in what he wrote, he connected reparation and reconciliation. And I submit that there is no reparation without reconciliation. And at some point, reconciliation should lead to integration. And so when you start looking at these, I think it's really important to look at, again, not being transactional, as Dr. Lysaught pointed out, but being transformational. And in the end, what happens is, if we can do a Marshall Plan and benefits, payments, and all that, we all benefit. Because I want to make it clear that reparations isn't just about Black people getting better, or we all benefit as a society when Black people are lifted up. And I really will shut up now.
I just really quick. I know I'm throwing us all off, Jessica,
No,
but
please
I'm
do.
loving this. When we're in meetings, back-to-back meetings on Zoom all day, we're not talking about this stuff. I've been hungry to have dialogue. So thank you for the opportunity. And I agree with everything that's been said, absolutely 100%. But I'm also thinking about the word plan, right? And when you have a plan, you can't do everything at once. It's step one, step two, step three, so on and so forth. And for me, that plan starts with still, I go back to just cut the check, and we could talk about everything else after that check has been cut. And I don't know why I'm drawing this connection. I guess because I've been, speaking of hungry for sports, and now that I have it, and college football is back, and I'm thinking about all these brothers out there on the football field playing and not being, in my opinion, fairly compensated for their efforts in comparison to the universities that they represent. And some of the pushback has been very paternal in nature, and that we're looking out for them and we want to make sure, so on and so forth, that how will they handle all of this money? Don't worry about how they're going to handle their money. Just cut the check. And then we could have a conversation. We could figure all the rest of it out, but let's repair the damage that's been harmed. But I'm thinking about zeroing in on wealth, in particular, wealth.
Mm-hmm.
The decisions that folks who do not have relative wealth that others are able to make, whether it even be, for example, coming to Loyola. The fact that some students are coming here to live that American dream at Loyola, going deep into debt for a degree that may not necessarily be best for them if we're really serious about what we're talking about. And yet still, we're having conversations about diversifying Loyola as a university. Are we really doing these students of color a service? These are the conversations that we need to have. And I know that it's oftentimes crass when it gets zeroed in on money, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the tangible outcomes associated when you don't have wealth. And I don't know any way to get around that aside from helping people with a leg up, and not even a leg up or a handout or whatever have you, just giving people what they're owed. When you're thinking about the American descendants of slaves and Edos and everything that they're trying to do, when you're giving people what they're owed, and however things play out after that, we can again have those conversations. But the fact of the matter is these people were put behind through no fault of their own, and their ancestors are now having to pay for that, and that's not right. And there's things that we can do today to rectify that monetarily. So again, in closing, and I know I'm rambling, but again, I'm loving this, and I agree with everything that's been said, but I'm hoping that the conversation, not just this conversation, but in general, doesn't veer too far away from the fact that that check needs to be cut.
I'm with you, Dean Henfield. The check needs to be cut. It's long overdue. We've, checks have been cut for other populations, and rightfully so. And I'm with you. I think that is the beginning, right? I don't think that it would be the end all be all by any means. And it also involves reconciliation. I agree with what everyone has said. Reparations without reconciliation is just not going to work. And there's a question here that I actually think, even though I wasn't planning on asking something like this, but I think it's worth asking just in the nature of what we just were discussing. And so someone asked, how is African-American oppression supporting the middle class American economy, right? And so again, when we talk about the history in which this country was founded upon, and how capitalism, the impacts of that. We know in health, for example, someone's socioeconomic status is more statistically significant to predict their health outcomes than it is what their race, their education, their income, things like that. And so, I'm sorry, their educational status, their marital status, but their overall wealth, which is what Dean Henfield is saying. And so someone wants to know if anyone can answer this, because again, I didn't share this with you guys prior, but can anyone speak to how African-American suppression is supporting the middle class?
That would be a whole webinar. I'd probably quickly turn it over to Cory, because I think he can rattle off the top 5 bullet points off the top of his head. If not, I can chime in on a few.
All right. So I think, really, this is about how opportunity is structured in America. we like to think of ourselves as a nation of meritocracy, right? We have the myth of meritocracy. You earn what is due. You work hard. You go to school. You go hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, like Dr. Henfield's talking about, and then you come out and on the other side, you get yourself a good paying job, and boom. But the fact of the matter is that people of color, particularly African Americans, suffer long-term unemployment, have struggled to get into the job market regardless of education. When they do get into the job market, it's at lower paid jobs, so they cannot build wealth, they cannot own real estate. If they do own real estate, a guy named Greg Squires out in DC, professor at George Washington, talks about the structure of opportunity. It's called race, residence, and the structure of opportunity. And he talks about even when you buy a home as an African American, it's in neighborhoods where the property values are either stagnant or declining. And so you're not able to build wealth at the same rate. And in fact, I saw a statistic that over the next 10 years, African Americans are expected to build absolutely zero wealth. And so that idea of cut the check now, I get, and I do agree with. But I also think we have to be both nearsighted and farsighted. So we have to be focused on the near term as well as the long term goal, which is really well-being, and again, ecosystems that function. And I will tell you, and then I'll shut up here, is that this is not just a social issue, but this is a planetary issue. This is a biosphere issue, because urban sprawl, and the fact that we cannot live together is bad for global warming. We actually are harming the entire planet by racism. And racism occurs not just in the US, but all over. In these areas where we can't get along and we have sprawl because we can't live together, we're creating more carbon emissions, and we are actually killing ourselves. So in the long run, we will either learn to love one another or die together.
Wow. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna shift the discussion. Thank you for answering that, especially on the fly, and that was very impactful. So shifting the discussion to a little bit more about the potential role of the Catholic Church. Dr. Lysaught, how might either the definition that UN developed or the definition that we're going with based off of our conversation tonight, how might the definition of reparations manifest at a Catholic church?
Yeah, this is a really great question, and I'm glad we've got it into this session, because lots of the audience here is the Coalition of Chicago Catholic Churches, right? So bringing it home to how does this play out in churches is really important. I want to start out though with why, right? I think that Dr. Henfield said something earlier, and I was like, ooh, got an answer to that question. But a lot of Catholics, right, might say, oh, I didn't know, I'm from Chicago, I didn't know any slaves, right? My people were immigrants. We've had our own oppression. This reparations doesn't apply to me. And the Catholic Church would say that's actually not the case. So if we had more time, I could go through, a very long argument why Catholics especially need to take this seriously. We could sum it up with scripture, the catechism of the Pope, and Cory's already covered the Pope, so we're good on that point. But scripture, right? Those of you who've read the Bible, right? Start to finish, right? Start with Genesis, go all the way through to Revelation. That is a story of reparation and reconciliation. That's what salvation history is about. Right now, mostly it's God doing reparations with us, even though God is not the person who created the sin or the injustice. We are, right? But God reaching over and reconciling with us. Right? That's the story of Scripture. And because God did this, then there's this call for us to do that as well, right? And there's, every other chapter is a call for people to participate in this work of repairing the wounds and the injustices of the world. If we had more time, I would read a passage from Isaiah 58, 1:12, which we don't have time to read, but it is a passage we've all read, we've all heard. It's the scripture for Ash Wednesday, the first day of Lent, right? And in this passage, this is one example, God is, as usual, really mad at the Israelites because they have been, talking a good talk about, being faithful, doing their religious practices, while they have been, slamming the poor, the immigrant, the widow, with all sorts of injustices. So God calls out, right, Israel, castigates them via the prophet Isaiah, and it turns at the end, and I'll just read the end of the paragraph, the passage where he calls them, right? Is this not rather the fast that I choose, right? We all know this passage because we've heard it every Ash Wednesday when we go to church and get our ashes, right? Release those bound unjustly, untie the thongs of the yoke, share your bread with the hungry. I love this one. Bring the afflicted and the homeless into your house, right? Mm-hmm. This is not just write a check, right? This is actually do it. If you do this, right, then your light shall break forth like the dawn. Your wound shall be quickly healed. Repairer of the breach they shall call you, right? So every Ash Wednesday, we are called to be repairers of the breach, right? To do the work of repairing the world. Now, that was 3,000 years ago. Okay, Isaiah, people will like to say, oh, it's a different context, doesn't really apply. But as the professor John Slattery, he teaches at Notre Dame, and he wrote this really nice little essay recently, and I'll send it to Jessica for the links afterwards. But about our contemporary notion of reparations from a Catholic perspective. And he cites the 6 passages in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, right? Catechism of the Catholic Church, all the church's teaching in one fat book, names reparation as a specific obligation of Catholics. Let me just read a couple little passages. They say, paragraph 24, for those who want to look it up, right? Every offense committed against justice and truth entails the duty of reparation, not just like it'd be a nice idea, right? This is a duty, even if its author's been forgiven, right? Even if reconciliation has happened. If someone who has suffered harm cannot be directly compensated, he must be given moral satisfaction in the name of charity. This reparation, moral and sometimes material, must be evaluated in terms of the extent of the damage inflicted. It obliges in conscience, right? So there's a powerful moral obligation stated right there in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. They go on later in paragraph 24:12 to then talk about how it's supposed to happen, right? How does reparation for injustice unfold? And they talk a lot, that go on and on about, those who directly or indirectly have taken possession of the goods of another or benefited from another are to make restitution of those goods, as well as the profit or advantages their owner would have legitimately obtained from them, right? So those are just 2 places in the Catechism where they talk about it. So we have scripture, we have church teaching, we have Fratelli Tutti that came out last week, so that's really great. So these are the reasons why Catholics and Catholic institutions and Catholic churches really need to take this seriously.
Sure, and I think everyone, who is Catholic would agree with the scriptures that you read. It's just we haven't acted upon them, right? We haven't acted upon them whatsoever, and so really the question is why? Why haven't we done that? And I don't know if we have an answer for that, and because we're not really the ones in power, but there was something that happened this past week. And I want to ask Dr. Mitchell about his thoughts on this. So Dr. Mitchell, as of this past weekend, the U.S. Catholic Church now has its first Black cardinal, right? Cardinal Wilton Gregory, what was your reaction when you heard this announcement, and what might this mean for the U.S. Catholic Church?
I love this question. I think, you know, in many ways, it's reminiscent of when President Obama was elected. So there's the excitement and enthusiasm of seeing a beginning. This is, you know, with the operations of the conclave, now Cardinal Gregory is going to be a part of the conclave, which means he's eligible to be a pope, to be a pope. Next pope could be any pope, right? So and we've had African cardinals or excuse me, popes in the past, but this is our first opportunity to have an African American pope. And traditionally, the cardinals in the enclave, they traditionally don't elect popes from great power nations, right? Just because of the power dynamics. But with Cardinal Gregory being African American, I think that changes the calculus, and I think that could be a real potential. Now, I think he's got to write a lot more, and I think he's got to be a lot more visible. But and he's got some African competition, which I think is pretty strong. But I think it is an excitement, and it's a witness, right? It's a witness to how Pope Francis restructures opportunity, right? This is what we're talking about when we talk about reparations and reconciliation. We're restructuring opportunity. So this is not the end of the process, right? The goal, the hope is that there are more cardinals that are made, but this is the beginning of a process, and really a very hopeful process.
Right. So if I'm hearing you, you're saying that this is a sign of hope. Maybe this is us actually starting to enact upon the scripture that Dr. Lysaught just read to us, that, you know, as Catholics, we believe and live by. But is it really reparations if there's no formal, you know, apology and reconciliation made with this announcement, this appointment?
Yeah, and I don't mean it to say it's reparations. I say it's a restructuring of opportunity. It is a tacit acknowledgement that we can do better, that the church can do better, and I think again, it's a start. It's not perfect. I mean, we have a lot of challenges in the church. Race is just one of them, but yeah. So we've got a house to clean, right? Francis has a lot of work to do, but this is one of those things where, again, when we start talking about processes, and this is a tip of the hat to Dr. Henfield, that long-term thing really starts to come into view when that short-term thing takes place. So this is the short-term thing. So the hope is that once we've got one now, maybe we can get a couple more, and then maybe we can really start the dialogue that Pope Francis is talking about, right? The dialogue is so critical in this new encyclical. It's so important for a nation like ours that is divided and at each other's throats. So yeah.
Yeah, it's starting that piece, that the truth telling and having, you know, real honest conversations.
Right.
Dr. Lysaught.
And so you had said, well, why isn't the church doing this reparation stuff if this is in our scripture and it's in our catechism? And it's a long and painful history, right? A great article, I'll send you the link for folks too, by Shannon D. Williams. She teaches at Villanova, and she wrote a short piece recently on why the church must make reparations, right? And so part of it is the history of the Catholic Church vis-a-vis race, which is a really bad history, right? I mean, the Catholic Church helped create the concept of race in the 15th century. They created, Jesuits were at the forefront, as they always are, of theology, created the theology for the justification of slavery, unapologetically participated in slavery, segregation, Jim Crow, supporting spurious scholarship to support the differences between races. The Catholic Church's history on this is not good. Segregating the seminaries, not allowing African Americans to be priests because of faulty biological arguments, not letting African American sisters join religious orders, right? So there's a lot of that's behind the why not. But I do think a first step for churches and for the any archdiocese, Chicago would be a good example, right, is to start telling your history, right? If you're in a particular parish, what is your history of your parish, right? How you've been there 100 years? How has your parish participated in racial practices? Did you turn a blind eye when things were going down on the south side? Did you do white flight? Did you, right? Were you part of an organization that closed a church, closed a parish, closed a hospital? Oh, we won't talk about those. Oh, yes, we will. Mercy Hospital, right? In African American neighborhoods, and how have the ongoing continuing actions of the church continue to perpetuate these problems? So it's a big problem. Yeah, Cardinal's a good first step, but boy, lots more steps to go.
Definitely. And I see we only have 8 minutes left, and I want to ask two, I think, really important questions. One is, we talked about the legacy of the Jesuit community holding slaves and particularly in Georgetown University. But recently, again, they've made efforts to address its own history of owning and selling enslaved people. And there was a presentation actually at Loyola University, Chicago, that took place, I think, last year. And so my question is, should other Jesuit and Catholic universities make a conscious effort to reconcile and to give reparations to Black, Indigenous, people of color, including students, faculty, and staff? And if so, what does that look like? If not, why not? And this question is really directed at Dr. Henfield, but I also think that Dr. Lysaught has experience in this as well, and or could have something to share and contribute. So either of you.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Lysaught just said it so eloquently. I couldn't say it any better myself. That yes, it is, the onus is on us as a university, Loyola University in particular, to share that history. And I just want to say, as an aside, I'm learning so much on this webinar. Thank you both, Dr. Lysaught and Dr. Mitchell. I just want to make sure that you understand that you're bringing so much to the table, and I'm really appreciating, particularly this history of Catholicism. I didn't know a lot of what you shared, and just the power in that. And it has me sitting over here questioning everything that I thought. We go as far as thinking about, Jesuit Catholic universities and social justice, and that's the end all be all. But this point about the value of understanding our history and our contributions to the legacy that still is here with us today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell a personal story. I'm kind of known for that, going to TMI in terms of my personal life. But I'm thinking about what reparations could mean for me, and the fact that I live out here in River Forest, which is a pretty affluent area, and I can almost guess that I don't have anywhere near the wealth of some of my neighbors. And that's the difference between income and wealth, right? Just the ability to make decisions that you don't necessarily have to make, or make decisions. I'm thinking about my life in terms of decisions that I have to make that some of my neighbors may not have to, whether it be the difficulty that comes with the moment. It would be nice to be able to fall back on a cushion and say, you know what, I'm kind of done with being a dean for a while. These 14, 15-hour days over the past 6, 7, 8, 9 months are wearing me out. And they are, but I also have 3 kids in the house and a 27-year-old. And I also have extended family that are doing fine right now. But again, this legacy of slavery, right? What if they're not? in the months ahead. So I can't even put myself in the mind space of thinking about, am I happy or not? What kind of life is that? If we're really being serious about it. And I think by any objective measure of success, I consider myself successful. But it's moments like this where I'm questioning the extent to which I'm happy. And it all goes back to some extent to the lack of wealth that I have that's not allowing me to live the full life of decisions of some of the people on my very block have the ability to do. So do we need to tell the history? Absolutely, because it's tying into the present with people just like myself who are in the same position.
Dr. Lysaught, did you want to add anything to that? I think, what Dean Henfield said also resonates with what Dr. Mitchell was talking about with well-being being part of when we think of reparations and reconciliation.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Do we have another half an hour? Could we just keep
I know,
talking about
I
this?
wish. I'm so sorry.
Because I think that there's another piece that we can't talk about. I don't have enough time to go into great depth, but universities are doing a pretty good job now of trying to begin to come to terms with their racist pasts and presents so that we don't have a racist future. And there's a component of that definition of reparation, right, that says cessation of these activities so that we can guarantee it won't keep happening. And while a lot of these initiatives are, we can't argue against, yes, let's give all the freshmen anti-racism training, let's do implicit bias training for employees. These are all good things. You as a physician know that if your patient has an illness and you're just treating the symptoms and you're not getting to the root cause, the patient's either going to, continue being sick or die.
Right.
And there's a couple, I'll send the references for further reading, but there's a couple of folks who really have shaped how I think about this question of universities, and we're just not getting to it in a way that we need to. And these are Elijah Anderson, who forwarded the notion of a white space, right? And all these places where we work, hospitals, universities, businesses, churches, neighborhoods, right? Mostly, these are white spaces. And these white spaces inflict a toll on people of color who try to work within them. Willie Jennings, who's a theologian, Elijah Anderson's at Yale, he's a sociologist. Willie Jennings is a theologian at Yale who's written a really important book entitled After Whiteness. And it's a scathing and insightful critique of theological education and education at faith-based universities. And he identifies not only is it a white space that we work in, but there's this dominant imaginary that shapes all of us, shapes who we hope our students become, who we hope the faculty become. And he calls this person the white paterfamilias, right? It's a rich white man that shapes the imaginary of this white space that we all work in. We can think of that fabulous Jesuit phrase, men for others, and you're 90% of the way there with Jennings' argument. How do you get at that, right? And the only way to get at it, Ibram Kendi, chapter 1 of his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, says racism is about power and policies, right? And until universities start turning the lens on the spaces of power, we're not going to cease harming and guarantee that it's not going to continue, right? So that would, and Jesuits should be, given the history of the Jesuits in the Catholic Church, it would be great to see the Jesuit universities at the forefront of turning the anti-racism lens on the places of power in universities: board, president's office, cabinet, president's cabinet, HR, finances, deans, right? These folks are not really kind of called out in our anti-racism initiatives. So
Board of
what would that
even?
Board of Trustees, right? What would that look like? Oh, that's my soapbox. I'll stop right there.
I think that's really powerful, and I wish that we could continue this conversation. I really do. I think this, of all the series, is one that really should have another, like, a follow-up, because again, like what Dean Henfield said, there's so much to learn about the relationship of the Catholic Church, the Catholic community with Black people, and what we need to do collectively, and then also what we need to be asking of our leaders, both, you know, in the church, in the diocese, but also within our institutions. And I agree with Dr. Lysaught. I think that's a perfect, like, that just hits it. You know, if we are to live and lead by our Jesuit values, then we should be the forefront of these anti-racism initiatives. And honestly, I'm not sure that we are. I don't know. But I just want to thank everyone, especially our panelists, for taking the time and sharing their expertise. Thank you all so much for attending. A very special thank you to to Michael Bayer for reaching out and thinking of this idea and making it come to life. Also to our campus ministry, who did a lot of logistics behind the scenes, which is a huge help for me as a full-time medical student. And just thank you to everyone who attended and listened with an open heart and mind. And we hope that these conversations start, you know, get you thinking about things and ruminating, because this is just the beginning. And this video will be posted on the White Coats for Black Lives Stritch SOM YouTube channel, and I will also be sharing resources via email. Thank you all so much.
Before we go, can I close us out in prayer?
Please do.
Yes.
All right. So, mindful that we are all sinners, Lord, Father of our human family, you created all human beings equal in dignity. Pour forth into our hearts a fraternal spirit and inspire in us a dream of renewed encounter, dialogue, justice, and peace. Move us to create healthier societies and a more dignified world, a world without hunger, poverty, violence, and war. May our hearts be open to all peoples and nations of the earth. May we recognize the goodness and beauty that you have sown in each of us, and thus forge bonds of unity, common projects, and shared dreams. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Cory.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, so much. Thank you, Dr. Lysaught. Thank you, Dean Henfield.
Thank
Thanks
you
for this
all.
great
I really had a
conversation.
good
I have
time.
learned so much. Yeah, we should just keep it on for another hour here because that would be good.
I really wish we
Just
could.
on.
You know, honestly, I thought